Happy Sunday, everybody. Welcome back to the Dirty Pat Walsh channel on YouTube with me, your host, Dirty Pat Walsh. That's right. Dipping on some Stoker's Blue. You can see Bobby there looking good. 2 fingers in the tub. And yeah, people seem to be digging my weird stories these days. So the story I'm going to tell you today is a story I've told many times in my life because it's one of the cooler moments I've had, I think. Um, Maybe I'm wrong, maybe it's idiotic, but yeah. Anyway, the story I'm going to tell you today. I was talking to Hillary this morning about it, and I was like, I kind of want to tell this story to the new people who are watching me now. But I made a video on that, and it's buried deep in my archives somewhere. And she said, "Well, there's a lot of new people watching you now, so you should tell them the story." So I'm gonna make it. This is the last video I will make on this story ever. But back when I was in my late teens, me and my friends used to like to go see punk rock shows all the time on the weekends, right? And we were lucky growing up in the '80s because we got to see like a lot of really kind of legendary bands were becoming legendary bands at that time, and we got to see them play a lot, like bands like Bad Religion and Fugazi and Henry Rollins. I know all the names. Social Distortion. Anyhow, we used to go see all these fucking great punk rock bands in the '80s. One band that we used to go see quite often because the bass player, they were from Washington D.C. and they were called Scream, and the bass player had a girlfriend in Toronto, so they used to play Toronto all the time, and so and they're still one of my favorite bands of all time. They're just they kind of got lumped in with the hardcore punk rock scene, but if you listen to them, they're just so unique and they're so not what you think of when you think of punk rock. Great band. But anyhow, so we were very lucky because we could go see them all the time, and I probably saw them about 5 or 6 times, I think. And anyhow, Scream. This was all before bands like Mudhoney and Nirvana and stuff like that were going. This was right before the grunge movement, right? And Dave Grohl, the guy who drummed for Nirvana and sings for the Foo Fighters, everybody knows who Dave Grohl is. Fuck, my mom knows who Dave Grohl is. He was the drummer for Scream at this point in their career. They had 2 drummers, and Dave Grohl drummed for them the last few years of their career, I think. But anyhow, so we all went to Toronto. We were going to see Scream, and it was great. We couldn't wait to see them. They were playing in a venue, this venue called the Rivoli. That I really like the Rivoli a lot. Some of probably all the best shows I've ever seen have been at the Rivoli. They had a great opening band lineup. It was just going to be a great fucking show, and it was. Now, the thing with being from Oakville, because I didn't live downtown Toronto, I lived in the suburbs. I was just a suburban poser. We had to get home, or spend the night somehow in Toronto, right? And we had to get home, so we had to either catch a train at, like, the last train I think was at 1 minute past midnight, and miss the headlining act usually, or we had to have a friend drive us, or spend the night. So on this occasion, my friend Chris and I, decided to spend the night, and so we got I had this old friend in Toronto named Joe O'Sullivan, and he used to write little poems and seal them up in walnuts and have a string coming off the walnut and a stamp of a penny on it. So he'd sell his poems wrapped in a walnut shell for a penny on the street, and that's kind of what he did. I don't know how he made money otherwise, but that was one of the things that he did all the time: sell penny poems on the street. And I think he was collecting pennies. I think he was going to make some art project out of it or something like that. I don't know. There's probably some bigger picture to it. But anyway, Joel Sullivan, he lived in a warehouse in Toronto. Now a lot of the punk rock types would all, there's tons of places like this in Toronto, like big warehouse places that, you get like 6 to 10 buddies to throw in with it, on it, and you can all live there, and just kind of cut out a space of your own, and it's cool. Yeah, where the warehouse places were always fun to party at, they had a keg of beer. It was great. Yeah, so we were gonna spend the night at Joe's place. Now, we saw the show. It was just a phenomenal show. It was the whole thing was amazing. Every time they played, they were phenomenal. It was just a totally great show, totally great night. And so when the show's over, people are clearing out, and Joe's kind of hanging around, and so we kind of meet up with him, and we're like, "Hey, Joe, so what's going on? What do you want to do?" And he's like, "Well, first we got to wait for the band." And I was like, "Which band?" Because maybe Missing Link was his buddies or something like that, And he said, "Oh, Scream's crashing at my place tonight." And we're like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" And he's like, "Yeah, we get the party with Scream all night." I was like, "Holy fuck, that's amazing." So, after everything was sorted and put away and all that, I piled in a car with about who was in the car? I don't know. We had 2 cars, and we were all kind of split up. Half the band in each car, and me and my buddy Chris and Joe and whoever. But anyway, so we split up into 2 cars, and we were driving around. We went to like a frat party. I can't. We were drink. We were drinking. Oh, we were drinking, boy. And the last place I remember us ending up at was some booze can in on Bloor Street, I think. And it was great. It was just so much fun. And so we ended up back at Joe's place, and it was like 4 or 5 in the morning, something like that. And, so we were all settling, and people were starting like getting sorted to go to bed and shit like that. And some of us decided to sit up and have a beer. And now Joe had one piece of furniture other than his bed. He had a couch, and Dave Grohl, as soon as he saw the couch, he immediately announced, "I'm the drummer. I work the hardest. I get the couch," and nobody's gonna argue with him. So he gets on the couch, and some of the funnier moments I remember at the booze can that we were last at. The bass player, Skeeter, he's this big, huge dude. And at the time, in the punk rock scene, there was this band Fugazi that was just starting to make waves, And I remember Skeeter yelling at the top of his lungs, "If one more person asks me about Fugazi, I'm gonna fucking take your teeth out," you know? And it was pretty funny. But that's something you kind of had to be there for, I think. So anyhow, so Dave's on the couch, and we're all sitting around, me and Joe and Chris and a couple other people. Pete's Pete Stahl, I think his name is, the singer. He's a fucking cool guy, a very interesting guy. But Dave Grohl. Now we all know the beer that people would drink, the punks would drink in Toronto, was usually Molson Export, and so we all got a beer, and we're drinking it, and Dave has a beer, and he's cracked it, and he's kind of lying on the couch, and he's just kind of lying back and starting to nod off, and kind of talking to us a bit, and then kind of nodding off, and he falls asleep, and he hasn't had one sip out of this beer, and back when I drank, that was a crime against alcohol. You can't leave an uncracked beer. It's not right. So so I was sitting next to the couch, right next to Dave, and so he had this beer in his hand, and it was just kind of like dangling in his hand like this, and I just reached up my hand and just went yoink, and his hand just fell, and he was asleep. So, ladies and gentlemen, back in 1989, I stole a beer right out of the hands of a sleeping Dave Grohl. If any of you are Foo Fighters or Nirvana fans out there, I really don't like Nirvana that much, and I certainly don't like the Foo Fighters. But Scream was a fucking top-notch band. So, yeah, so I guess that's my story of the day. The night I stole a beer from Dave Grohl. Funny brush-ins with fame. It was a really fun night. It was a great night. Nights like that were just fantastic. When you're 19 years old and just fucking nothing really matters but going to the show. It was yeah. I miss that time in my life for 30 years ago. 30 years ago. But anyhow, yeah, that's my story. So I hope you're all doing well and having a blessed Sunday. And I'll see you sometime. I don't know what I'm going to be doing today. I don't have much to do today. So you'll probably see me later with another something fucked up. All right. Be well. Talk to you soon.